Thursday, 6th of January, 1944. Dear Kitty, my longing to talk to someone became so intense that somehow or other I took it into my head to choose Peter. Sometimes, if I've been upstairs into Peter's room during the day, it always struck me as a very snug. But because Peter is so retiring and would never turn anyone out who's become a nuisance, I never dared stay long, because I was afraid he might think me a bore. I tried to think of an excuse to stay in his room and get him talking, without it being too noticeable, and my chance came yesterday. Peter has a mania for crossword puzzles at the moment, and hardly does anything else. I helped him with them, and we soon sat opposite each other at his little table, he on the chair and me on the divan. It gave me a queer feeling each time I looked into his deep blue eyes, and he sat there with that mysterious laugh playing round his lips. I was able to read his inward thoughts. I could see on his face that look of helplessness, and uncertainty how to behave, and, at the same time, a trace of his sense of manhood. I noticed his shy manner, and it made me feel very gentle. I couldn't refrain from meeting those dark eyes again and again, and with my whole heart I almost beseeched him, "Oh, tell me, what is going on inside you? Oh, can't you look beyond this ridiculous chatter?" But the evening passed and nothing happened, except that I told him about blushing. Naturally, not what I have written, but just so that he would become more sure of himself as he grew older. When I lay in bed and thought over the whole situation, I found it far from encouraging, and the idea that I should beg for Peter's patronage was simply repellent. One can do a lot to satisfy one's longings, which certainly sticks out in my case, for I have made up my mind to go and sit with Peter more often and to get him talking somehow or other. Whatever you do, don't think I'm in love with Peter. Not a bit of it. If the Van Dans had had a daughter instead of a son, I should have tried to make friends with her too. I woke at about 5 to 7 this morning, and knew at once, quite positively, what I had dreamed. I sat on a chair, and opposite me sat Peter Wessel. We were looking together at a book of drawings by Mary Boss. The dream was so vivid that I can still partly remember the drawings. But that was not all. The dream went on. Suddenly, Peter's eyes met mine, and I looked into those fine, velvet-brown eyes for a long time. Then Peter said softly, "If I had only known, I would have come to you long before." I turned around brusquely, because the emotion was too much for me. And after that I felt a soft and oh, such a cool, kind cheek against mine, and it felt so good, so good. I awoke at this point while I could still feel his cheek against mine, and felt his brown eyes looking deep into my heart, so deep that there he read how much I had loved him, and how much I still love him. Tears sprang into my eyes once more, and I was very sad that I had lost him again, but at the same time glad because it made me feel quite certain that Peter was still the chosen one. It is strange that I should often see such vivid images in my dreams here. First I saw Grandma so clearly one night that I could even distinguish her thick, soft, wrinkled, velvety skin. Then Granny appeared as a guardian angel. Then followed Lize, who seems to be a symbol to me of the sufferings of all my girlfriends and Jews, and all Jews. When I pray for her, I pray for all Jews, and all those in need. And now Peter, my darling Peter. Never before have I had such a clear picture of him in my mind. I don't need a photo of him. I can see him before my eyes, and oh, so well. Yours, Anne. Friday, 7th of January, 1944. Dear Kitty, what a silly ass I am. I am quite forgetting that I have never told you the history of myself and all my boy friends. When I was quite small, I was even still at a kindergarten, I became attached to Carl Sampson. He had lost his father, and he and his mother lived with an aunt. One of Carl's cousins, Robbie, was a slender, good-looking, dark boy who aroused more admiration than the little, humorous fellow, Carl. But looks did not count with me, and I was very fond of Carl for years. We used to be together a lot for quite a long time, but for the rest my love was unreturned. Then Peter crossed my path, and in my childish way I really fell in love. He liked me very much, too, and we were inseparable for one whole summer. I can still remember us walking hand in hand through the streets together, he in a white cotton suit and me in a short summer dress. At the end of the summer holidays he went into the first form of the high school, and I into the sixth form of the lower school. He used to meet me from school and, vice versa, I would meet him. Peter was a very good-looking boy, tall, handsome, and slim, with an earnest, calm, intelligent face. He had dark hair and wonderful brown eyes, ruddy cheeks, and a pointed nose. I was mad about his laugh, above all, when he looked so mischievous and naughty. I went to the country for the holidays. When I returned, Peter had in the meantime moved, and a much older boy lived in the same house. He apparently drew Peter's attention to the fact that I was a childish little imp, and Peter gave me up. I adored him so that I didn't want to face the truth. I tried to hold on to him until it dawned on me that if I went on running after him, I should soon get the name of being boy-mad. The years passed. Peter went around with girls of his own age, and didn't even think of saying hello to me any more. But I couldn't forget him. I went to the Jewish secondary school. Lots of boys in our class were keen on me. I thought it was fun, felt honored, but was otherwise quite untouched. Then, later on, Harry was mad about me, but, as I've already told you, I never fell in love again. There is a saying, time heals all wounds, and so it was with me. I imagined that I had forgotten Peter, and that I didn't like him a bit any more. The memory of him, however, lived so strongly in my subconscious mind that I admitted to myself sometimes I was jealous of the other girls, and that was why I didn't like him any more. This morning I knew that nothing has changed. On the contrary, as I grew older and more mature, my love grew with me. I can quite understand now that Peter thought me childish, and yet it still hurt that he had so completely forgotten me. His face was shown so clearly to me, and now I know that no one else could remain with me like he does. I am completely upset by the dream. When Daddy kissed me this morning, I could have cried out, "Oh, if only you were Peter!" I think of him all the time, and I keep repeating to myself the whole day, "Oh, Pitel, darling, darling Pitel." Who can help me now? I must live on and pray to God that He will let Peter cross my path when I come out of here, and that when he reads the love in my eyes, he will say, "Oh, Anne, if I had only known, I would have come to you long before." I saw my face in the mirror, and it looks quite different. My eyes look so clear and deep. My cheeks are pink, which they haven't been for weeks. My mouth is much softer. I look as if I am happy, and yet there is something so sad in my expression, and my smile slips away from my lips as soon as it has come. I'm not happy, because I might know that Peter's thoughts are not with me, and yet I still feel his wonderful eyes upon me, and his cool, soft cheek against mine. Oh, Pitel, Pitel, how will I ever free myself of your image? Wouldn't any other in your place be as miserable substitute? I love you, and with such a great love that it can't grow in my heart any more, but has to leap out into the open and suddenly manifest itself in such a devastating way. A week ago, even yesterday, if anyone had asked me, "Which of your friends do you consider would be the most suitable to marry?" I would have answered, "I don't know," but now I would cry, "Pitel, because I love him with all my heart and soul. I give myself completely. But one thing, he may touch my face, but no more." Once, when we spoke about sex, Daddy told me that I couldn't possibly understand the longing yet. I always knew that I didn't understand it, and now I understand it fully. Nothing is so beloved to me now as he, my Pitel. Yours, Anne. Wednesday, 12th of January, 1944. Dear Kitty, Eli has been back a fortnight. Meep and Hank were away for their work for 2 days. They both had tummy upsets. I have a craze for dancing and ballet at the moment, and practice dance steps every evening diligently. I have made a super modern dance frock from a light blue petticoat edge with lace belonging to Mansa. A ribbon is threaded through round the top and ties in a bow in the center, and a pink corded ribbon completes the creation. I tried in vain to convert my gym shoes into real ballet shoes. My soft limbs are well on the way to becoming supple again, like they used to be. One terrific exercise is to sit on the floor, hold a heel in each hand, and then lift both legs up in the air. I have to have a cushion under me, otherwise my poor little behind has a rough time. Everyone here is reading the book Cloudless Morn. Mummy thought it was exceptionally good. There are a lot of youth problems in it. I thought to myself, rather ironically, take a bit more trouble with your own young people first. I believe Mummy thinks there could be no better relationship between parents and their children, and that no one could take a greater interest in their children's lives than she. But quite definitely she only looks at Margot, who I don't think ever had such problems and thoughts as I do. Still, I wouldn't dream of pointing out to Mummy that, in the case of her daughters, it isn't all as she imagines, because she would be utterly amazed and wouldn't know how to change anyway. I want to save her the unhappiness it would cause her, especially as I know that for me everything would remain the same anyway. Mummy certainly feels that Margot loves her much more than I do, but she thinks that this just goes in phases. Margot has grown so sweet. She seems quite different from what she used to be, isn't nearly so catty these days, and is becoming a real friend. Nor does she any longer regard me as a little kid who counts for nothing. I have an odd way of sometimes, as it were, being able to see myself through someone else's eyes. Then I view the affairs of a certain Anne at my ease, and browse through the pages of her life as if she were a stranger. Before we came here, when I didn't think about things as much as I do now, I used at times to have feelings that I didn't belong to Mansa, Pym, and Margot, and that I would always be a bit of an outsider. Sometimes I used to pretend that I was an orphan, until I reproached and punished myself, telling myself it was all my own fault that I played this self-pitying role, when I was really so fortunate. Then came the time that I used to force myself to be friendly. Every morning, as soon as someone came downstairs, I hoped that it would be Mummy who would say good morning to me. I greeted her warmly because I really longed for her to look lovingly at me. Then she made some remark or other that seemed unfriendly, and I would go off to school again, feeling thoroughly disheartened. On the way home, I would make excuses for her because she had so many worries, arrive home very cheerful, chatter 19 to the dozen, until I began repeating myself, and left the room wearing a pensive expression, my satchel under my arm. Sometimes I decided to remain cross, but when I came home from school I always had so much news that my resolutions were gone with the wind, and Mummy, whatever she might be doing, had to lend an ear to all my adventures. Then the time came once more when I didn't listen for footsteps on the staircase any longer, and at night my pillow was wet with tears. Everything grew much worse at that point, and Finn, you know all about it. Now God has sent me a helper, Peter. I just clasp my pendant, kiss it, and think to myself, what do I care about the lot of them? Peter belongs to me, and no one knows anything about it. This way I can get over all the snubs I receive. Who would ever think that so much can go in the soul of a young girl? Yours, Anne. Saturday, 15th of January, 1944. Dear Kitty, there is no point in telling you every time the exact details of our rows and arguments. Let it suffice to tell you that we have divided up a great many things, such as butter and meat, and that we fry our own potatoes. For some time now we've been eating wholemeal bread between meals as an extra, because by 4 o'clock in the afternoon we are longing for our supper so much that we can hardly know how to control our rumbling tummies. Mummy's birthday is rapidly approaching. She got some extra sugar from Crawler, which made the Van Dans jealous, as Mrs. Van Dan had not been favored in this way for her birthday. But what's the use of annoying each other with yet more unkind words, tears, and angry outbursts? You can be sure of one thing, Kitty, that we are even more fed up with them than ever. Mummy has expressed the wish, one which cannot come true just now, not to see the Van Dans for a fortnight. Continue on page 138 and 139.